I am currently in survival mode, now in week 3 of what has just been the most wild sickness. I think having our third baby and being just totally outnumbered, being really in need of support a lot of the times has kind of pushed me to that point where it's like, okay, I really do need to ask for help. I am going to share with you guys the ways that we survive as a family and the way that I survive as a mom when we are in the trenches. Hello you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to today's vlog. As the title states, I am currently in survival mode. We are right now in week 3 of what has just been the most wild sickness that has plagued our house now for honestly 3 weeks straight. If you are new here, I'm a mom of 3. I have a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-month-old baby, and just all of us have been like dominoes over the last 3 weeks, getting sick, recovering a little bit, not fully recovering, picking something else up. And although my kids are not in school or anything, even just being at kids programming in church or hanging out with other friends that are in school, for some reason the sickness just keeps coming into our house. And it doesn't help that we've also had to make a couple of ER trips because I feel like we've picked stuff up there as well. But I'm talking pneumonia, we've had norovirus, the flu, bad double ear infection, and just fevers that have been downright scary. So that is where I am starting this vlog right now. Last week I honestly just couldn't even film because if you are also a mom, you know that it is just drop everything full hands on with the kids when your whole house gets sick. And then I almost didn't film this week as well because I had a whole other thing planned. Basically everything has been canceled in our world over the last what feels like a month. But I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I feel like people are probably even going to resonate more with me just showing up in the reality of what we are experiencing right now with sickness and exhaustion and talking about what that actually looks like, because I know that this is not just us right now and there are other families that are going through this exact same thing. You guys are also the most supportive people in the world, and I know that you don't care if I'm wearing my pajamas over the course of this next vlog. So in this video I am going to share with you guys basically the ways that we survive as a family and the way that I survive as a mom when we are in the trenches of just the hardness of life, the reality of life sometimes, sickness, exhaustion, all of that fun stuff. Over the past 3 weeks, my husband has only needed to take 2 days now off of work. One of them being when we had norovirus and I had norovirus really bad. He took a day off of work just because I literally could not function. But the second time that he's needed to take off work is today because I think one of my kids right now has a flu that is actually different from the norovirus that we had, and he has picked that up as well. So he is home right now, he's with the kids. They are all just snuggling on the couch, going back and forth between reading, watching shows, coloring, basically whatever we can do to keep them still. I find that when my kids are sick, they are either just super low energy and just wanting to not get up at all, or they're just still themselves and are presenting with all of the sickness symptoms but are still wanting to be up and around and doing something. And I find it hard to get them to just relax because their bodies still need to slow down to recover. So that's what he's doing out there with them. And that would be my first piece of advice, is to just lean into the sick day vibes. Just really embrace the reality of what you are experiencing, whether that is sickness or even just a rough night with the kids. I have always just found that when I try to push too hard past that and try to still make happen in a day what I had maybe planned the day before to get done that day, or I really wanted to do something with the kids and I just push it too hard, that it always just takes us longer to actually recover and give our bodies the downtime that we need than if we just pump the brakes and lean into the sick day vibe. So I'm talking all of us staying in our jammies, which is what our whole family has done today, embracing time together just on the couch. I often bring their blankies from their beds onto the couch and we'll all just snuggle up together, watch a show, which is okay to do sometimes, read books together. We've done a lot of coloring over the past couple of days. I'll often put on just a slow, cozy playlist to just get them to slow their bodies down for a little bit. So it's those kinds of things that I feel really do create that space where it feels like it's okay for us to just rest and even, dare I say, enjoy that time together. One of the things that I have been taking comfort in the past couple of days is the fact that all of my family is home and we're all together. We are here and the circumstances may not be exactly what I would love them to be right now, but at least we're all together and we're all home. So we're doing our best to make the most of it. The next thing I would say is is reduce your expectations. I usually go into every day with at least some sort of mental, if not written, to-do list. But when my family is sick, that whole to-do list basically just goes out the window. And yes, that can be hard, but when you give yourself the grace to just adjust your to-do list, it will make your day go so much better.
You over for a second?
Yeah. So on a day like today, the new to-do list basically just becomes keep everybody fed, empty the dishwasher because that always just makes the rest of the day go by way more smoothly, and then do at least one load of laundry because I don't know about you, but we usually have a lot more of that when we are sick than when we are not. Outside of that, anything else that I can get done is basically just icing on the cake, and then that way I don't feel like I'm holding on to all of this guilt of a to-do list that I wasn't able to get done. And that gives me way more capacity to just lay low and snuggle my kids. Okay, so this is probably not the greatest angle in the world, but that's okay. I'm out on a walk right now with my baby just because I have not had any fresh air, and I'm pretty sure like 3 days now, and I was just going stir crazy. So I bundled her up, I bundled myself up, and we were just out to get some fresh air right now. But the next thing that I wanted to share was one that I thought of this morning, and it is something that I have found myself doing a lot over the past couple of weeks, but it's just like grounding myself in reality a little bit. I have to do this, especially I find when I'm experiencing a lot of mom guilt, and that is something that I find kind of rears its ugly head a lot when my kids are sick and we're just home and there's not a whole lot we can do during the day. And it sounds so silly to share, but even this morning, Rosie woke up at like 5 a.m. and I had had a really tough night with the kids the night before, literally up for like hours in the night. And so when she woke up at 5, I just like did not have it in me to actually start the day, but that's what I needed to do. So we went to the playroom, I sat her down with some toys, I grabbed like a little pillow and a blanket and just sat beside her while she played and just tried to get a little bit more rest before I started my day. And then I just got flooded with so much mom guilt of like, I can't even like wake up and play with my baby right now, like I'm not gonna engage with her at all, I'm just gonna lay here. And then I just had to like look around the room and ground myself in reality and be like, my baby is safe, she is warm, she's just had a bottle, she has a clean diaper, she is playing beside her mom in her house with her toys, and I'm right here, and like everything is actually okay. If anyone needs that, but just a reminder that like you are probably doing much better than you think that you are, and sometimes all it takes is just looking around the room and grounding yourself in the reality of what's actually happening to just try and silence some of the thoughts that are going on in your head. So that was an encouragement for me today, and I hope that it can be encouraging for you too. Next thing on my list is asking for help. Admittedly, this is something that I have struggled with more than other things in my motherhood journey. I think especially for people that don't have family close by, it can feel, whether it's your family that you are asking or people that aren't family and they're just like close friends or church community or things like that, that you are really putting people out when you ask them for support, whether that's watching the kids or with literally anything else in your life. And one thing that I really had to just humble myself in, because it honestly really does come down to a pride thing, is that you can't say people's no for them, and that people are actually a lot of the time honored to be thought of and honored to be asked and even to be in your circle of people that you would trust, whether they can or can't help. And so I've really had to stretch myself, and I think having our third baby and being just totally outnumbered and being really in need of support a lot of the times has kind of pushed me to that point where it's like, okay, I really do need to ask for help now, and what does that look like to get more comfortable with that? And so so this past week, we actually did have Jared's mom come down to help us with the kids for a couple of days, and that was just so nice and so needed. And when she offered it at first, I wanted to be like, no, don't worry about it. Like, we'll be totally fine. I'm sure it's just like a little sickness, like the fever will go down. It's a 4-hour drive for her to come to our house. And so I just like didn't want to put her out internally. That is everything that I was going through my mind. But then taking a breath and taking a step back and being like, okay, she's offering, our family could really use the support right now, even with just the other kids, so that we can be more present with this child. I was like, you know what, that would actually be great if you are willing to do that. She did. She had the best time even just being here with our kids over the last couple days and here last week while we were really in the thick of things. So this is just your reminder that especially when you are in a season that feels like the trenches or survival mode, that it is okay to ask for and accept help. Again, the worst that people can say is no, and then even still, you got to take a little bit of an exercise in humbling yourself and being willing to ask. And so I do think that it is always worth putting the ask out there and finding that community around you, whether it is family or friends or church, of people that can be in your corner and people that you can call on when you need it. Just took a nice hot shower and now I'm getting ready to wind down for the night. But I think one of the most important things that you can do is just prioritizing yourself in general, and not just the stereotypical like self-care days that I think are honestly a little bit overhyped, because as much as I would love to just like go to the spa for the day, that's not going to fuel me for like the next 2 weeks. It's so much more about like your daily habits and routines as a parent that actually lead to a healthy lifestyle. And I heard the phrase one time that you guys have probably heard, but like, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. And the first time that I heard that, like in relation to motherhood, I honestly thought that it was kind of dramatic, because I was like, we're not needing to compare this to like a plane crash every single day. But the more that I have just like sat with that phrase and thought about it, the more that I have resonated with it, and the sense that it is actually true that those moments throughout the day where you maybe deprioritize yourself and then deprioritize yourself and then do that again, those things add up over time. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to be selfless. I think that being a mom is one of the most like self-sacrificing things that you can do. I think that's all awesome, but you do have to be careful of like the constant deprioritization, because all of those things can actually add up if you're not adding in any like investment, if that makes sense, to counteract all of those things. And when you're in a stretching season, it may not necessarily look like a full self-care routine every single day where you are doing exercise and journaling and reading your Bible and doing skincare and all of the things that you would love to be doing in a regular season. I know I would love to be doing those things all of the time, but in a stretching season, a lot of the time those things get pared down. And so then it becomes like, what are the most important things for me to be doing right now? For me, a lot of the time that's still prioritizing reading my Bible, but like at a baseline, it's also just making sure that I am fed and hydrated. And there are days in the past couple of weeks where I literally, like, there was one morning where one of my kids woke up while I was making myself some toast, and they were like, I'm hungry, like I want toast, and they were kind of sick. So I was like, okay, this might be a good thing for them to try. Gave them some toast, and then I went to go and make myself another piece of toast because I had given mine up. And then my other kid woke up, was like, I'm hungry, I want toast, like they have. So then I gave them the other piece of toast that I made, and then I just started going about my day and like doing other things, and realized like I didn't eat anything. Like I just gave up the breakfast that I made for myself twice. And that's not to make me sound like a hero. It's just like, it's the little things that we're all doing all day long, because it's just like there's a never-ending list of things in front of us. And so remember to cover the basics, like be fed, be hydrated. For me, it's also reading my Bible. Those are the things that at a baseline I know are going to allow me to keep doing what I need to do every day. All that being said, when I do have time, I also do love to do a good skincare routine. You guys know this. And recently I have really been loving the skincare products from Timeline. Timeline, powered by MitoPure, is a Swiss cellular longevity brand that was founded by doctors and scientists, and they are all about promoting healthy aging. MitoPure is the exclusive ingredient in their skincare products, and it helps to reduce visible signs of aging, including fine lines, wrinkles, loss of elasticity, hydration, radiance, all of those things. Both morning and night, I start off with their serum. It is super hydrating, and it's designed to help with the overall appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, but also just with the other signs of aging, like hydration as well. The thing that I love most about the serum is the fact that it is so lightweight. Like, it really does feel super, almost like milky when it goes on, and it's very hydrating, but it doesn't take a really long time to dry, which is nice because I do like to follow it up right after that with the night cream. The night cream also contains MitoPure, and it is so creamy. I don't know if you guys can see like how thick it is. The barrier of my skin just really struggles a lot to stay hydrated, and I have been loving how just like rich this cream is. It also does help with fine lines and wrinkles, tone, texture, radiance. They do also have a day cream that is powered by MitoPure as well. It's almost like a gel-like consistency going on, but again, it dries really nicely and very quickly, so it's great if you just wanted to add something for anti-aging before applying your makeup. Since I have started using this full like anti-aging lineup from Timeline, I can genuinely say that I have noticed an improvement in the overall texture and tone of my skin. And the craziest difference that I have noticed has been in the fine lines across my face. I'm a pretty expressive person, so I had started to get some fine lines across my forehead here and just around my eyes, but I have really noticed that the fine lines in both of those spots have decreased significantly since using Timeline. They do say that you will notice an improvement within 2 weeks of getting started. Looking for something to help you age very gracefully and naturally, this is a great solution for you. Timeline does also carry a longevity supplement. These soft gels contain MitoPure as well. Helps to slow aging on the cellular level. So this helps with things like cellular energy, muscle strength and recovery, and your overall endurance over time. So if you guys are interested in checking out any of Timeline's anti-aging products in their lineup, they have given me a discount code with them. All you have to do is head down to the link in my description box and use the code BETH10 at checkout to save 10% off of their skincare products and to learn more about their longevity supplement. So thank you so much to Timeline for working with me on today's video. It is now the next day and energy levels are starting to come back, which is great. This is the most energetic I've seen my kids in 3 weeks now. A little bit more eager to play, running around a lot more than I have seen them running around, which is such good news because I feel like it means we are finally getting to the other side of this thing. It's still been a very low-key day at home just because people are still snotty. It's still just a lot of like tiredness, so I didn't want to push it too much, but because energy levels are coming back, I'm making some blueberry muffins.
I'll come up here.
You want to come up here?
Yeah.
Okay, next helpful thing in navigating a season, particularly of sickness with young kids, I wanted to share some of the logistics pieces that have been so helpful for our family in navigating this. The first thing is to prepare for this as much as you can, not living in fear that this is going to happen, but just being aware that sickness, especially in the toddler stage, is inevitable. And so having as much as you can have on hand already is going to save your life for when the moment actually comes. So I would say basic things like having a thermometer in your house for kids is super important. Any medicine that you want to give. I know that everyone has different stances when it comes to things like Tylenol and Advil, but we have seen some really scary high fevers before, and I just would not want to not have that in my house as an option for when the moment actually comes where we do need it. Other things that I always like to have in my house are vitamins, supplements when it comes to being sick, like echinacea, elderberry, all of those things. I have a stocked medicine cabinet pretty well at all times just to make sure we're good to go on those fronts. And then the other thing is pre-preparing when your kids are actually already sick as well. So when my kids were in the trenches of it all, when they would go to bed at night, I would basically like lay out like a readiness set up for myself for the middle of the night wakings to make it easier. I would put out things like a new clean sheet, fresh pajamas in case puke were to happen, a puke bowl in case that were to happen, and just pre-preparing as much as possible made everything go a lot more smoothly when disaster struck. The other thing that was incredibly helpful for us was grocery delivery. You guys know that I love grocery delivery, but especially when we were in like isolation in our house for a long time, it was so helpful because my husband started puking and he's like, I just need Gatorade. And because I pay for an unlimited grocery delivery, I was able to get Gatorade just delivered to our house within 2 hours of us actually like not needing to go out. And so having that for snacks being stocked up, things delivered to our house, cleaning supplies when I literally just needed bleach to kill a norovirus, like all of those things that would have been really tricky for us to get out of the house to get, just leverage grocery delivery. It's so much easier to just have it show up right to your door, even if that's not something that you do normally. And then the final thing that I would say from a logistics perspective was helpful for us, and I share all this because I've had some people ask us like, how do you navigate sickness with so many kids at the same time? Not like 3 is a ton, but it is a lot more in the middle of the night when you're trying to handle things like night wakings. So the way that my husband and I handle night wakings is typically like dividing and conquering, and that is what we have done ever since we added baby number 2, I think. Like my husband would always go for the toddler when she would wake up in the night, and I would go with our baby. And then now, because we have 2 toddlers and they're typically waking up less than the baby, I'll just handle the baby fully, and then whatever happens with our toddlers who share a room and often wake up together, my husband will go in and handle that. And so we kind of keep that up when we are in a time of sickness where we'll just divide and conquer and kind of choose who's going to handle what night wakings in the night, so then that way there's not one parent that's responsible for everything. It's a little bit different if one of us is sick, like when I had norovirus and I could not get up in the night, my husband did all the night wakings, and at that point you're really just praying for a smooth night. But those are kind of some of the logistics things that helped us to make it through. Grocery delivery, dividing and conquering night wakings, and then pre-preparing as much as possible. The next thing that I would say is that it is okay for your kids to see your humanity, and honestly it's probably helpful for them to see your humanity. And what I mean by that is that when you are so just tired or ill or not able to like fully be on in the way that you want to be for a season of time in parenting, it's okay to kind of walk your kids through that and allow them to hear you say like, hey, mom's just actually really tired right now. Like I had a hard night last night. I'm gonna do my best today. And letting them know that you might be a little bit slower that day, which is a totally fine thing to do. I think it's all about expressing emotion in a healthy way and not letting them in on too much or overwhelming them, but showing them that you also get tired sometimes. You may also even get overwhelmed sometimes, but that you're actually able to still go about your day. And I think that that shows your kids that that whole range of emotions is not only normal, but that they can also get past it too, because you've modeled that to them. I also think that when you take breaks and you ask for help and you prioritize rest when you're not feeling your best, that it shows them what it looks like for them to do that in their life as well. I honestly think that just being real with your kids while still being that secure and safe person helps them to develop a lot more emotional intelligence than if you try to just act like you have it all together 24/7. I know that at least that was my experience growing up, is just that that honesty actually resonates a lot with kids when you share at like an age appropriate level where you are actually at with them and kind of bring them into that. I think it also does help with resilience in developing kids that know that they can work through hard things too. That'll work. Hello friends, it has now been a couple of days. I feel like things just picked up a little bit in life once we all got better and got healthy again. I'm happy to let you know that we are now all out of what I would say was the survival mode that we were in for the last at least 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks, and I'm feeling so much better. The kids are feeling so much better, and now I'm just trying to catch up on all of the things that it felt like I had dropped the ball on over the past couple of days. And I've been thinking a lot about what it means means and what it looks like to hold that tension when you are a mom and there are a lot of things that you need to do to be productive, but your capacity goes down and you often struggle with feeling like I'm falling behind on things and feeling guilty for the things that I'm not getting done. I had heard a quote a while ago about, it's not necessarily a quote, it's more of an idea, but just like the fact that when we're juggling all of these different balls in life, some of those balls that we are juggling are glass, and those are the things that when they drop, they shatter. Things like our health, things like our own just like personal well-being, things like family and friends, the things that are actually the most important in life. On the other hand, there are also things that we all carry and have on our plates that are like rubber balls. So things like work, things like a house. When you drop the ball in those areas of life, it's not as consequential. Those balls will actually just bounce back up again when you have the ability to pick them back up again. And so you have to choose in these different seasons of life which balls are glass and which ones are rubber, and give yourself the grace and the ability to take a break of doing some things if your season does not allow you to do those things. And that was the next thing that I wrote down when it comes to being in survival mode for a little while. I think sometimes when you are a mom with young kids or with a baby or just whatever that looks like, that you can sorry, they're also just like out there with my husband just banging on instruments right now. But I think when you have young kids, especially even toddlers that maybe have become a little bit more independent, that you start to mentally adjust to your new capacity in that way, and they're not as needy as they were when they were in the newborn stage. So then when something happens like sickness or people are just not sleeping well and that dependence goes back up again, I think that there's a lot more room for frustration with that. And I know that that is something that I have had to work through, is that when our whole house all of a sudden is like highly dependent and we can't do anything, we just have to slow down and just like meet all of the baseline needs. Laundry can't get done, maybe you have to order more food than you normally would. It's easy in that space to get frustrated, but I think that one thing that was helping me through it all was just like remembering the season that I am in. I'm still in a season of parenting really young kids, and looking around the room and maybe seeing laundry piling up or things that I wasn't able to get to, I just had to like stop and remember that what I was doing in those moments of just like snuggling my kids on the couch was the best thing that I could have been doing with my time. Even though there were other things that I wanted to get done and was kind of feeling a little bit guilty or the tension of not being able to accomplish, I just had to remind myself like there is no better way for me to be spending my time right now. And I think that that can apply to a lot of different things in motherhood. If you are really tired right now, waking up in the middle of the night with a newborn, in those moments when you are holding your newborn baby, there is no better place in the world for you to be. If you think about it, like no one can actually come in and fill that role that you are filling for your baby. When your kids are having a tantrum, there is no better place in the world for you to be in that moment than right there with your kid, helping them figure out how to navigate their emotions and gain that self-awareness. It really is such a fulfilling way to think about it when you start to feel that frustration or unfulfilled because you're not able to get other stuff done, if that makes sense. And the final thing that I think is the most encouraging thing for me in all of this is really knowing that when I am at my lowest, when I am at my like worst in terms of capacity and even attitude and just how I'm able to show up for my kids every day, that those are the times that the Holy Spirit is able to do his greatest work in me and through me to my family. There is a Bible verse in 2 Corinthians 12:9 that says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me." And basically what Paul, who is the author of this book, Corinthians, is saying to the Corinthian church here is that when you are at like your lowest in what you're able to do, that is when Christ is able to fill you and empower you and equip you to do things. And then in that scenario, it's not you that's getting the glory because you're able to do all of these crazy great things and you're able to do it out of your own strength. You actually stripped all of that back, and it was the Holy Spirit that equipped you and showed how much he is able to do using you. And so we become these tools for Christ to glorify him and to honor him even when there is not a whole lot that we can bring to the table. And I just think that personally, as much as it's like nice to be at full capacity in terms of health and things like that, that it is really cool to see the way that the Holy Spirit can work through us when we show up with very little to offer and ask him to fill us for that day and equip us to be the best mom that we can be, even when we're running low on sleep, even when we are tired of feeling crummy or of wiping snotty noses all winter long. wrong, that's when the Holy Spirit can really just empower us to do all that he's asked us to do. And we have nothing else to attribute it to other than the fact that he met us where we were at. I also love the Greek word for sufficient in that verse because it's archeo. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but basically it means to, in that sufficiency, give us endurance and strength and power, but also to give us satisfaction. And I think that that's really what we all need, is not only to feel like we are equipped to do all that we need to do, but also to just find deep satisfaction and contentedness in that. And so that is my encouragement to you guys today, is to call on the Holy Spirit. If nothing else, just ask him to give you what you need to show up for your kids, because at the end of the day, he has called you to this position of motherhood. These are his kids that he has entrusted us with. And so what better resource to tap into than the Creator to give us everything that we need in seasons that feel really hard. So wherever you are at right now, I want to just pray for you guys, knowing that there is still winter to come, sickness to come, and even into the future beyond that. It's not like there aren't seasons where it feels like all of us sometimes are just parenting out of that place of survival mode. Maybe there's something going on in your life or your health or your mind, and it just is really stretching for you right now. And so if you drop a comment down in the comment section just saying that you need prayer, you don't need to divulge into anything. You can if you want to, but I would just love to be able to pray for you guys and come alongside you in that way, because there is power in that as well. So feel free to do that down in the comment section. But otherwise, I'm going to wrap this vlog up here. I do obviously have a lot of stuff to catch up on, which is why I am chatting to you while also trying to check some laundry off of my list, because there are many more baskets to go after this one. But I wanted to remind you guys that if any of you are interested in checking out Timeline for your skincare needs, maybe you want to just add a little bit of anti-aging products into your regimen as well, that I do have a discount for you guys, as well as a link for that. So if you are looking for that, all you need to do is go down to the description box of this video, and if you use the code BETH10 at checkout, you will be able to save 10% off of their products. So thank you so much to Timeline for working with me on this video. Thank you guys for being here. I really do love you all so much. I hope that you are having a good winter, and until my next video, I'm praying for you, and I will see you soon.